Hello. We're going to now talk about how you can actually apply these 6 PROPEL principles to get better engagement with your staff. I'm going to start by talking about the 2 forms of passion, the harmonious, collaborative type and that obsessive, controlling type. You've all had bosses that represent one end of the continuum or the other. Let's start with that command and control type. Liz Wiseman, in her book Multipliers, she refers to these people as diminishers. And you know what they're like. They want to tell you what to do, how to do it. This is what it looks like. This is my plan. You're responsible for doing what I say, and I'm going to hold you accountable to be sure it gets done. You've all worked with people, 4 people like that. And what happens? What happens to your drive? How well do you do? But you've also probably worked for someone who does the harmonious passion, someone who's collaborative, who says, tell me your ideas. Here's the goal. How do you think we can get there? They align with you. They know who you are when you are at your best. They share with you a vision of what's the path to get from where we are to where we want to be. And you feel it in you. You give them 110%. Boss, you can count on me to get this done for you. Accountability. Big difference between those 2 types of leaders. And this brings you to a choice point about what kind of leader you want to be. This is how you ignite passion within yourself and within others. Ask these 3 questions. When have we been at our best in the past? What is it that we learn from that? When we look at those incidents, it's so funny when I talk to people, they'll say to me, oh, well, our team was at our best in the past when we had a snowstorm and hardly anybody could make it in. It was terrible. We had a core group in for 2 days, and that's when we were at our best. Really? Yeah. Under adverse conditions, people bring their best stuff. Well, what do you learn from that? Do you have to wait for a crisis to be at your best? Of course not. What can you learn from that, and how can you be at your best in the future? 3 key questions to ask yourself and your team about how to fire up and bring your best stuff. People either obsess over controlling those negative people. I refer to them as BMWs, as you can see. Those are the blame, moaner, and whiners. And you've all got people working for you, right? Especially those blamers. You know the type. They're in your office or in your face, telling everybody else what they're doing wrong. Yeah, that's that actively disengaged bottom group. Most managers end up obsessing, trying to control those people that are acting out. The very first woman I ever worked with to teach her PROPEL had a group of really terrible, toxic people in her work group. She had 200 FTEs, and she had probably more than 20% who were really bad people, sleeping on the job, threatening other employees, stealing, just terrible. Coming to work intoxicated, it's terrible problems. And she was obsessed over controlling those people. Well, you have to, right? You have to discipline and put it right. And those people would get better for 90 days while they're on probation, and then day 91, yeah, back to the same thing. Same grind. And she got so stressed with this. It was terrible. Before staff meetings, she'd have to go to the restroom to, yeah, not pretty. Her stress level, her level of being obsessed with trying to control them. I said to her, Joan, what would it look like, remember that? What would it look like if things were really good with you and your staff? She thought back to her previous job. She thought, you know what? I love working with people. I love it when we work as a team. Well, Joan, why don't you work with that group? Why is 98% of your focus on the negative people? Let's shift. Let's get you starting to work with the people that you can harmonize, you can work with. There's people on your staff that want good teamwork, right? Right. As soon as she could picture it, she started to calm down. And she began to think, who are those people? Today, when you talk to Joan, she'll tell you, I now spend at least 80% of my time working with my top performers. They need me, they deserve my time and attention, and that's where I get my results. When she does have to deal with negative people, by the way, it's matter of fact. Here's the problem, sign the paper, here's your consequence, we're done. Number one source of satisfaction. So if you're going to try to have a good connection at work, you need a best friend. You need one person that you feel has got your back, that you can really count on. What's the number one source of dissatisfaction? Yeah, that'd be you. You're the boss. Remember back to that scarf model? People who get threatened, the status thing. That automatically triggers stress in people just when you walk in the room. And if you start with the bullhorn, it's telling people what to do, yeah, they are really going to demotivate right in front of you. So how do you countermand that? Well, we know from this optimal functioning research, there's 3 characteristics of super high-performing teams. One is the positive to negative ratio. Now, this is going to blow your mind. Here's what that ratio needs to look like. I'll go into a leader and they'll say, oh, I'm a positive leader. Yeah. I'll bet there's 2-3 times as much positive interaction around here as there is negative. To which I'll say, I'm so sorry to hear that, because you're languishing. You're a team that's hanging on. When you start getting to twice as much positive as negative, those are teams that are suffering. High turnover, lots of active disengagement amongst the staff. You have to get to between 6 and 12 positives for every negative encounter. That's amazing. But now you know why there's so many disengaged and actively disengaged staff. There's not enough positivity in the exchanges with people. Second, inquiry versus advocacy. So Joan, I was telling you about, she's like, well, okay, I can see who those positive people are, but I got to tell you, I don't know what to do. I spent a couple of years trying to deal with these problems. I don't know what to do to make it positive. Here's the good news, Joan. You don't have to know. You have to ask. Inquiry. Go ask those top people, what do you believe it will take to make things better around here? Start that alignment process. Others versus self. Joan's done really well. When Joan started, her group was at the 3rd percentile of engagement compared to other teams around the country. At the end of a year, her engagement level was up to the 87th percentile. Amazing. So good, in fact, they gave her a Best of the Best award 1 year later. And so when Joan goes around and talks about her story and how well she transformed things working with her top people, she entitles it, It's All About Them. It's all about the other people. You have to find out, what do they believe? What do they need? What's going to work for them? Inquiry. Make it positive. Here's your assignment. If you're interested in making things more positive, you're going to have to bring it, aren't you? You're going to have to know, well, what's my positive to negative ratio? What am I bringing to the table? Here's the website. Go to positivityratio.com. Take the test. It's 15-20 minutes. Find out what your positive to negative ratio is. And then ask yourself, am I above that 5-to-1 threshold? And what can I do to get my team above that threshold as well? Optimism. So here's the deal. There's always negatives. In positive psychology, we're going to make things better, but yeah, you know how this is going to work. Those problems are always going to be resurfacing, coming back. But it's how you react to them that's important, isn't it? And how you think is going to determine how stressed out you get about it. And how you feel, if you're really stressed, you know what that's going to look like. Yeah. Versus if I'm feeling good and I'm feeling I got people I can connect to, I'm going to create intention. I'm going to ask, we're going to find solutions, and together we're going to create this intention for here's how we're going to attack that situation. And that is the best predictor of what's going to happen in the future. How you explain a challenge is crucial. And this is something that you learn. You're not born an optimist or a pessimist. How you think, nobody learns to it comes out of genius, right? We all have to learn how to think. Notice that how to explain negative events. So when I first was meeting with Joan would tell me, these people are crazy, Dr. Tom, these people are crazy. What's the problem with that? These people, all of them, she's making it pervasive. These people are crazy. Oh, that's kind of personal. And crazy is permanent. There's no changing crazy. So, Joan, what do you need to do to explain the situation to yourself as situational? Oh, it's not these people, it's some, and there are others in this situation who are actively engaged. I need to connect to them. And together, we can start solving some problems, and we need to take specific steps to make it so. As soon as she began to think differently, wow, she began to feel differently. She began to feel that energy of, we can do this, we can overcome this challenge. Here's your assignment. You want to cultivate optimism? Do what firefighters do. Why do they run into a building when everybody else is running out? Because they got a plan. They've already talked to their buddies. They've got a plan. Here's what we're going to do. And here's what we're going to do if it doesn't go well. Here's our exit strategy. It's really important to write it out, though. When you're facing a challenge, it's hard to pay attention to your own thinking. So write it out and then explain it as situational, temporary, and specific. Proactivity. Remember those strengths? What is it? We can see the outcome. How are we going to get there? Two ways to measure it: the internal character strengths, the external strengths that have to do with business. One's done by Gallup, the other's done by, it's free. Marty Seligman that I mentioned, father of positive psychology, developed this other test. Chances of being engaged at work. If you don't focus on strengths as a leader, you've got a 9% chance that you're going to be successful. What if you do focus on strengths as a leader? 73% chance that your initiatives are going to be successful. This from the Gallup data. So you can see this is crucial. Even if you can see the outcome, you have to know, what are the best qualities I have, my team has, they're going to get us there. Let me explain how this works. Here's your challenge, there's your strengths. If you have high challenge but low awareness of strengths, that's what stresses people out. Well, on the other hand, what happens if there's low challenge, high strengths? Bored. You're looking for the sweet spot, right in the middle. Psychologists, positive psychologists call that flow. If you were an athlete, you'd say, I'm in the zone. And that's where you want to be. Match the level of the challenge to the level of your strengths awareness for yourself and your team. Here's what I'd like you to do. Go take the test. It's free. Go to AuthenticHappiness.com, log on, it takes about 30 minutes, and find out. It'll list, here's all your strengths. And then think, when have I been at my best in the past? When's my team been there? And what I can see in my top 4 or 5 strengths, how did I use those to be at my best? You should memorize 3, 4, 5 of your top strengths. You should have them right at the top of your head. So when things are getting a little stressful, you can say, this is what I can do here to be at my best. Energy. So I mentioned how Joan was always so stressed out. In the 1 year that Joan was really working to take care of other people, she started to take better care of herself too. Lost a whole bunch of weight, started to really do things to bump up the 4 storehouses of energy. Take care of her body, her mind, her emotions, and her spirit. It's like 4 cells of a battery. If you're not recharging them routinely, you're going to run out of gas. In fact, it's more important to manage your energy than your time, according to the research of Blair and Schwartz. Talk about your body just briefly. Americans want to eat and drink and drug, and that feels good for just a very little bit. Doesn't last. Better exercise. Exercise burns off that cortisol stuff we were talking about. Yeah, burns off the bad neurotransmitters, bumps up the good neurotransmitters. Food. Slow down when you're eating. savor it, and sleep. For every hour of sleep less than 7, your performance degrades 20%. It doesn't do any good to stay up late, work hard, because the next day you're slow. It's like molasses. Your brain's fogged over. Get your sleep. You'll get through your projects much quicker. Again, you want to learn about your energy level, assess how well you're managing your energy. There's the website, lge.perfprog.com. Go on, 10 minutes, you can take the energy assessment from Lehrer and Schwartz, Powerful Engagement, and then you'll get this little chart, and they'll tell you, here's what you can do to increase your energy, and here's the performance improvement that you'll see. Finally, legacy. Why are we doing this? Why are you in a leadership role? What purpose does it serve for you? I'll bet it's because you really hope to make a difference in the lives of other people, your employees, your customers, your patients, depending on your setting. And you know what? I'll bet someone made a difference in your life. Almost every leader has had a mentor, someone that really helped them. So you can see AMP. And Daniel Pink, when he looked at what creates motivation, autonomy, you'll remember that from the SCARF model. You have to give people space to figure out and engage with you. What do they see as solutions? Mastery, those are your strengths. When can you be at your best? And purpose. How often when you're talking to your team, for that matter when you're talking to yourself, how often do you say, here's the purpose around why I do what I do? This is the meaningful difference I want to make in the world. Here's your assignment. Think about that mentor who made a difference in your life. Write a little gratitude note. If they're still around, if you have a chance, take them that note, read it to them, hand it to them. It'll be one of the most powerful experiences in your life. And then think, how can I pay that forward? How can I begin to make a difference in the people's lives that I work with and my customers, clients, and patients? I'd like to express gratitude to you. I hope you've learned something, not only about how to deal with complex organizations, but how you can help your team in your life. If you have questions, you can go to my website, thepropelprinciples.com. There's videos, there's all kinds of papers, and you can see it all right there. Thank you very much.